Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Love of Life podcast. Well, Christian schools, how to start one. Up next, we're talking to Anna Moore about Christian education and the steps and challenges of getting such an organization up and running. Coming up next.
Christian education. Because it serves him who says, I am the way, the truth, and the light, is the love of life.
This is the Love of Life podcast, conversations with Jesse and Courtney. All right, and we're back. So Anna Moore is with us. She's joining us tonight on the podcast. Anna is a wife. She's a mother. She's a VBS director. She's also a sixth grade science teacher at Premier Charter School. Anna, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I thought we could start here. Let's talk a little bit about Christian education. Talk to us about the need for distinctly Christian education.
Sure, absolutely. So it kind of started with me becoming a parent and looking for a school for my son, Henry. He's in preschool this year, and my husband, Rob, and I started looking towards the end of last school year for a place for him to attend part-time for preschool, kind of get his feet wet with schooling. And we realized that there were not a lot of options in our area. And in addition to that, it's pretty expensive too. So he attended a Catholic school in our neighborhood this year. We have been very happy with where he's been. Unfortunately, they are closing their doors at the end of the school year. Mm. So there is a definite need. There's a definite need for affordable Christian education as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. And why specifically Christian education? Why not send him somewhere else?
Yeah. So I feel very strongly that children are not meant to be the salt and the light to the world right now. That parents are the primary educators. And if we are going to be giving them over for 8 hours a day, that they should be under the care of like-minded parents, Christian parents, so that they can be prepared and they can be equipped so that when they're older, they can be the salt and light to the world. But right now, that's not their role.
Right.
Yes. So your journey you starting this Christian school started with your own son. What else was in there? You're looking around, you go from, we need somewhere to send him. This school's not an option. Yeah, let's just start one. How did that happen?
So prior to having kids, I actually completed a master's degree in administration. So the goal was always to become an administrator. And at the time, I thought that the Lord was leading me to be an administrator at a public school. And there was always a little idea in the back of my head of like, wouldn't it be really cool just to start a school? And I am working at a charter school right now, so I do kind of know a little bit of the process that goes into creating an independent school. And so there was always this little idea in the back of my head of, yeah, that would be really cool if I could start a school. Although at the time, the idea was not specifically a Christian school. And then, fast forward to having kids and realizing, hey, I've got this skill set. I've always wanted to start a school. Why not?
That's great.
There's also a part of me that my mom heart kind of hurts going to school, working with someone else's children and paying to send my child somewhere else. And I would really just love to be able to, I've got that skill set to be able to provide for my kids and for my friends' kids what we're looking for in a school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So say someone is listening and they don't have your experience maybe as a teacher, but say they're interested in starting a Christian school. Where does one begin with that? What are the foundational elements to sort of kicking that off?
That's a great question. In some sense, it's kind of like building the airplane while it's flying right now. It starts with a group of like-minded people. So I will say we have gotten as far along as we are right now because I had the help of Brookie Moore and Lisa Grove and Jenny Schuth, who is a Christian coworker of mine. and Noah Brink, who is the author of a newly published book, Jesus Above School. So we all kind of have come together with similar ideas, and we are working through it as we go along. Noah has some experience with coaching and consulting other schools, so there's a lot of information that he brings to the table. Brookie Moore has also worked with a lot of schools that were in their early stages, so she brings some knowledge as an educator. Then Lisa Grove is a mom and in it to make this for her kids. She's also very talented in what she does with social media. So she is the person behind all those social media posts that have been being pushed out this week.
Awesome.
That's
good.
Is it necessary or maybe even just helpful to have a church affiliated with a project like this?
Yes, absolutely. So we initially started as a group of people, but we have already realized that we need to be affiliated with a church just to give us a little bit of that legal protection. So we are working with the session at Providence Reformed Presbyterian Church to make sure that we are an extension of their ministry, even though we will be independently run. So we're not a session run school, we are a board run school, but we are going to be affiliated with Providence to start with. But the dream is to have other churches join with us and be affiliated with us as well.
Yeah. So you've mentioned it's like like trying to fix a plane or build the plane while it's mid-flight. What are some of the other challenges or things you guys are bumping into right now that it's just, it's part of the process, but what are some of those challenges?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, honestly, is funding. If you start a charter school, that's a government-funded school. So you get a lot of money for doing X, Y, Z, and then the government will give you that money. When you go the private route, the beauty of that is we don't have to necessarily follow any of the rules and the regulation that the government puts in place, but then we don't get any funding. So the challenge in making it accessible for all families is making our tuition affordable while paying our teachers well, while being able to take care of a building or rent a property or purchase curriculum and technology and so forth. So that has been one of our biggest discussions that we have every time we meet, is how we are going to make it affordable, compensate our teachers very well, cover our basic costs. So we are working on alternative income sources so that there can be funds funneled into the school that can bring the tuition down and allow us to pay our teachers well.
That's wonderful. You've already mentioned one, having people with a lot of knowledge and even Noah's book, but are there other resources that have been really helpful for you in kind of sorting through this, figuring out what you're doing, maybe even other books?
Yeah, so I actually started this journey reading Doug Wilson's book, Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning. That sort of helped me shift my mind from public education, which is where I'd spent the majority of my time, to the philosophy behind private education. And then Noah's book, Jesus Above School, has been really helpful as well. A lot of what he writes about is kind of what I was intuitively doing, or kind of like believed, but couldn't put into words. So it's been really cool reading his book and kind of seeing how he's been able to put into words some of these ideas that we know are right and that we're wanting to do. And he's given us the words for it.
Can you expound maybe a little on that? Like, what are some of those things that he's put into words? How are you running with that? How is that helpful?
Yeah, so his book, Jesus Above School, is, pretty much what the title suggests, putting Jesus above school, that as Christian schools, we're not just a copy paste of a secular school with a little bit of Jesus dust sprinkled on top. Like, we are truly putting Jesus at the center of everything that we do. And also trying to remind our students and our teachers that we always need Jesus, that that we don't graduate school and suddenly we've got it and we know everything and now we're this perfect Christian. So his book talks a lot about that, how to infuse this biblical worldview into literally everything that you're doing in the school, that it's not, you don't have a religion class. All of your classes is learning about the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you'd say this is more of like a classical Christian education that the students will be receiving, much like what I think Doug writes in Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning.
So we are going to be the Cornerstone model. We are not going to adopt any one model specifically. We're going to take a little bit of what's best for kids from many different models, and we're going to be the Cornerstone model.
Okay, so yeah, flesh that one out for us. Tell us a little bit more. What's your vision? What does that look like? And is it
absolutely
per grade?
Yeah, so we started with our mission, and our mission for Cornerstone is that we are dedicated to assisting Christian parents in educating the whole child, nurturing grace-filled relationships, and cultivating a biblical worldview. So what that means with that first part, where we're educating the whole child, we are recognizing that all kids are created in the image of God. All kids learn differently. And there is not a one-size-fits-all kind of model for all kids. So in realizing that, that's where we're going to take a little bit of the best of every model that we see and let our children learn at their own pace and recognize that the way they learned is the way that God designed them and that they are in the image of God. Then we're really committed to nurturing grace-filled relationships. And part of that involves having small class sizes. So again, that kind of circles back to our challenge with funding the school. When we're going to keep our class sizes small, that's not a lot of tuition coming in either, but we really firmly believe that those smaller class sizes allow the kids to build relationships with their teachers and build relationships with their peers. Big inspiration for this was Vacation Bible School, directing Vacation Bible School. And over the years, we've kind of come upon this magic number of around 15 and 16. That's like the perfect number for the class. You get any larger than that, and the kids are having fun, but it's kind of like herding cats. Like there's not a lot of relationship building between the teacher and the students happening because it's a whole lot of management. And so then with those smaller class sizes, helping our students and helping our teachers to know that we are all learning and we all make mistakes and we are all sinners and we all need Jesus.
Right.
And then the very last part of our mission is cultivating that biblical worldview. And that's kind of what I spoke to earlier with Noah's book about how it's not a religion class. We are using the Bible to learn about the world. So that is infused in everything that we do. So it's really making us take a step back and evaluate everything that we put in place as far as its purpose. And is it something that's helping us to learn more about God?
Yeah. So you're starting with a Christian presupposition for everything that you're teaching, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there any particular curriculum you're using? I mean, you're using the Bible, and that's going to be a foundational source, probably through everything that you do. But beyond that, are there things that you're using?
So that's been a question that's been asked by parents, and understandably, they want to know what's being taught. As a teacher, I use a process called understanding by design or backwards design. It's where you start with what you want your students to know, and then you build your lessons from there. So we are starting with standards of what we want our students to know. Some of that comes from Missouri learning standards in America, and some of it's coming from what we're learning from research and what is developmentally appropriate for kids of certain ages. So we're taking that and we're saying, okay, what are we wanting our students to learn? What's the target? And we're calling them a target. because some children will meet that target and some children will take a little bit longer to get to that target. But that's just the general direction that we're wanting them to go with that. And then we are going to pull from a variety of resources to help them to reach that target. So it's not going to be a textbook program. It's not going to be all one curriculum. And I know that for the non-educator, that sounds a little bit out there. For a teacher, that's kind of what we do, to be honest. We start with standards. We are given resources, but our curriculum isn't like in a box, here's what you teach. Our curriculum is taking those standards, taking the resources, and helping our students to learn.
Sure. So you're not saying here's Bob Jones or here's a Becca book and this is our curriculum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially since part of our mission is educating the whole child, and we are recognizing that children learn differently. There isn't a one size fits all curriculum. And so when we take that approach of we're gonna look at the target, this is what we want them to learn, and then we are going to use a variety of resources to help them get there.
How much does what state you're in have an impact on what you're able to do? Does it? I mean, since you're doing this independently, or are there still guidelines and things that you have to be aware of or careful about?
For the state of Missouri.
Well, yes,
right. Obviously.
The state you're in. But.
Yeah. So we are private. So there are not a lot of limitations that we have to go by. That being said, we also want to be aware of what other children in the U.S. are learning. We want to be competitive in that sense, that we don't want to be naive and have our children be educated in this bubble and then realize that they are far behind where their peers at other schools are. So that's why we are starting with some of the Missouri learning standards to see what's comparable to what they would be learning if they were to go to a secular school. That being said, there are some things that we disagree with and we don't feel are developmentally appropriate at that age, and we're going to do things a little differently.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting that you can do it how you see fit and with your experience. It's great. I know
it really is cool. It's kind of like just being able, especially as a teacher, as an educator, being able to just rethink education and like build it from the ground up.
Yeah. And I know you've mentioned in some literature I've read about this upcoming school that you have a growth plan. It's not going to be immediately all grade levels. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? How you plan to grow? Where you're going to start?
Absolutely. So we are slated for a launch in the school year of 2024-2025. We're going to launch with preschool through fourth grade. And then each year after that, we're going to add a grade level. So basically it's our kids aging up. So our fourth graders will become our new fifth grade class. And then the following year, they'll become the sixth grade class. And so we're going to continue growing until we reach eighth grade. We really feel that the pre-K through eighth grade model is the way to go. We've taken a lot of that inspiration from the Catholic schools. Most of their schools are pre-K through eighth grade. And then we would like to start thinking about a high school as well, so that we have an option for our kids to attend post eighth grade.
Right. So for those that are specifically in the St. Louis area, talk to us about your location and also where they can go to find out more information.
Yeah, so our target area is the Crestwood, Afton area. That's kind of where we noticed there is a hole. Also, with us being affiliated with Providence and that being located in Crestwood, we're wanting to stay relatively close there as well. We've toured a location so far. We're working with the Archdiocese and looking at some of their properties that were former schools, but ideally we want to stay within the Crestwood, Afton area. Sure.
And then where can they find out more information? You have a website?
Yes, they can visit our website, which is ccastl.org. They can also follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And then any questions can be emailed to us at info@ccastl.org.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us that maybe we didn't ask about?
Yeah, we are going to try and launch a soft start this fall. So we'd like to kind of have a test class with preschool and kindergarten, partly because my son is in need of a school this fall. So it would benefit me greatly. But it would also give us an opportunity to kind of give a proof of concept. And tuition for our soft start is going to be reduced compared to what it will be for our full launch. But families that join us for the soft start will get discounted tuition for the real launch, as well as tuition freeze and priority enrollment if they join us in our soft start.
Okay, excellent. That's really, really great. And I personally witnessed you do VBS directing last summer, and it was done in excellence. And I'm positive that this school will also be done that way as well, since you're a part of it. And it's absolutely great having you on the podcast, Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. And our daughter Eden enjoyed it very much, as I'm sure you could hear all the cooing and everything else in the background.
It was a wonderful audience.
She enjoyed it. Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Love of Life podcast, Conversations with Jesse and Courtney.
It is our duty through our schools to create a new one, a God-centered one. We are told in Proverbs 8, verses 35 and 36, "For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death."